afternoon, pet parents of Regina or wherever you might be. We are coming to you live on our last Furry Friday of March. This month was all about kibble. We've got you live on Facebook and we've got you live on TikTok. So if you see us looking back and forth, it's because we're looking at two different phones to make sure that we're coming to you in both places.
Yeah.
So we got some questions. We've got a bunch of folks who have done their kibble swaps with us. That was what March was all about. Swapping your kibble to move to open farm as a food. And we've got a bunch of those. But in the meantime, we also got a bunch of questions that you guys have about kibble. So who's starting? I'm starting?
You're starting.
I'm starting, you guys. So one of the questions. Oh, I hope that doesn't take off our... Hi guys, where are you located? Hi Sherry, we are in Regina, Saskatchewan. All right, sorry. All right, you guys, this is our first time for doing both the Facebooks and the TikToks together. So one of the first questions that we got was, how did kibble become a dog's diet? Or a cat's diet for that matter. So kibble itself, a form of kibble, was created back in the 1800s. However, it became more commonplace so that more people could have pets and afford to feed pets in the 40s during the war. And the reason was because pet food back in the day was usually a wet option made in it was packaged in a can. But when the war started, there was a ration on metal and there was a ration on meats. Meat for the soldiers, metals for the bullets. And so kibble was born because we couldn't package wet food into a bag. So we had to come up with a dry option. So that's kind of how kibble became a dog's diet. Yeah, you guys have anything to add to that?
I think that was all.
All right.
A little brief history. So
history here.
Yeah,
I suppose.
literally. So one of our other questions was, how long does kibble last? And we did do kind of a TikTok that goes into this a little bit, but we can go a bit more in depth here. So essentially, kibble is fresh in the bag until we open it. So once we've opened it, we've exposed it to light and air, and those fats start to oxidize and they start to rot. So in order to keep your kibble fresh, it is good for 28 days after opening. If you can't go through your bag within 28 days, pop whatever you're not going to use into the freezer. So yeah,
Yes.
28 days is that magic number.
28 days for optimum freshness of your food.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next question is, can you feed kibble with raw? And there's so many, it's kind of like a controversial topic in a sense, but you totally can. It's no different than us as humans kind of having a burger on a bun or chicken and rice. They may digest differently within our bodies, but a little bit of raw is better than no raw at all. And we actually suggest you can make about 20 to 25% of your pet's bowl with fresh foods. So that could be a raw diet, it could be fruits, it could be veggies, just plain raw meat, just stuff like that.
The healthy stuff.
Yeah.
The healthy stuff. You think about it, you guys, if you're having an ultra processed meal, like let's say for example, Kraft dinner, you can improve that Kraft dinner diet by including a salad or a fruit cup or a glass of milk. Some whole fresh food added to your Kraft dinner makes it that much more nutritious for you. So same kind of thing with our animals. When they're eating a processed diet like a dry kibble, adding 20 to 25%, like Olivia said, of fresh whole foods is just going to do nothing but improve the food that we're feeding. We're back to you, Miss Ella.
Okay, so another question is, why do you guys talk about hydrating kibble? So this is one thing that I think we like to mention all the time. If we think of dogs and cats, biologically, they're supposed to get majority of their water intake during the day from their food. So I think it's about 70 to 80% of the water they're supposed to consume comes from the food that they eat. However, when we feed them a kibble or a dry diet, we're reducing that moisture significantly, and it's actually only ever 10% in kibble, 10% or less. So we do want to increase the moisture in their diet, prevent that chronic dehydration that we often see in dogs and especially cats. You can add water, Or you can add like bone broths, goat's milks. Those are really good options as well. But adding that hydration is so important for your pets.
Yep. And that hydration can also come in the form of fresh foods,
Yep.
raw foods. Like Ella said, goat's milk, bone broth, wet food. Want to
Yep.
make sure that it's a premium, good wet food. Sherry is asking, can dogs eat raw veggies? And absolutely, Sherry. Now, some furry guys out there are like, I'm not so much about the raw veggies, and that's okay too. In that instance, we can still get veggies into their diet by either gently steaming them or lightly sauteing in an olive oil, waiting till they cool, and then we can add them to the bowl. But if they like raw veggies, absolutely feed them raw veggies. The only veggie we never, ever want to feed is anything from the onion family. So onion, leek, chives, doesn't matter, no onions. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, back to Olivia.
Back to me. Okay, so then the last question that I'll be answering is, why is kibble bad for teeth? So kibble, although it is crunchy, and you would think that because of that crunchy aspect, it would be cleaning their teeth and getting off the plaque and tartar, but unfortunately that's not the case. It would be no different than us eating a bag of super sweet Doritos, or just Doritos in general. Usually our teeth don't feel pretty great after that, and it's no different for them. The best option to actually clean their teeth is some sort of raw meaty bone. It just totally helps get rid of and break down all that plaque and tartar. And even after their first bone or two, you will see incredible results.
The other thing too, the other option for keeping our teeth as clean as possible when we're talking about the furry guys is a raw diet, because raw meats are the only things that have the necessary enzymes to break down that plaque and debris on their teeth. Kibble, because it has a high percentage of carbs, which turns to sugar, if you think about eating a great big icing filled cupcake, like Ella just did before we came on, your teeth don't feel so clean when you're eating something really sugary. So that's the same kind of idea with kibble. The other thing is the way that their mouths are designed. Their mouths are designed to rip and swallow, rip and swallow. Their mouths, as a carnivore, are not made to chew their food like a herbivore would. So when we do the ripping, because we're giving them kibble and all they have to do is swallow, they're not doing anything to crunch and try to clean teeth anyway. So
No.
like Olivia said, raw meaty bone, best option for keeping those teeth clean, and raw food.
And even if you can't do that, brushing daily for them, even on top of a raw meaty bone, is really great as well. It's just like us, we have to keep our teeth clean somehow. It can't always happen naturally. So just another way to do that.
Yep, and brushing every 24 hours if we're gonna brush their teeth, because plaque will rebuild over every 24 hours. So you want to brush every 24 hours. That is Zayner's little bedtime routine. He gets his teeth brushed every 24 hours.
Yeah.
Is it a question that I can't see from here?
Yeah. Best treats for dogs with sensitive stomachs.
Good question.
What are they sensitive to? I think would be the first question.
That would be something that
Yeah.
we would want to know, because if it's a protein, of course you're gonna stay away from that particular protein. Or if they have issues with different fruits or veggies. This little monster loves rabbit, but he has an intolerance, because no matter what type of rabbit he gets, whether it's a treat or a food, it immediately comes out the front. And so he's got a bit of an intolerance. So yeah, we would need to know, like, what sensitivities do we have?
Yeah.
We will wait for that answer, and I will, what's my question here? What is the best quality kibble? So that was another question that folks had asked. So what we always recommend, if we're going to feed a dry food, we want to ensure that the food is a premium food. We also want to make sure that it is very protein rich, nutrient dense, and low carb if we're going to feed dry. One of the things that we always talk about in store is, if we're going to feed a dry diet, that we also want to build that buffet in the bowl. And what we mean by that is a diverse diet. It doesn't have to be just one food every day for the rest of your dog's life, because who wants to eat the same thing for the rest of their life? You can have your kibble in there, you can add bone broth, you can add goat's milk, you can add some freeze-dried, some dehydrated, some raw, some fresh fruit. Be a mad scientist and build that buffet in the bowl. If you've never done this with your dog before, you need to get them there. So we're going to gradually start introducing a variety of different foods into their bowl.
Yeah.
Did we get an answer?
We got the answer. The answer is the pupper is allergic to chicken and fish.
Ah, okay. So then, if we're looking for a sensitive treat for a little guy who doesn't do well with chicken or fish, you want to be diligent about reading the ingredients on the back of your packaging. The unfortunate thing is, chicken is a very inexpensive ingredient in the pet food industry, and some not so scrupulous pet food manufacturers will put chicken into things whether they tell us that or not. So it's going to be important that you go through all of the ingredients and ensure that you don't have anything with chicken or fish. The other option is for a sensitive tummy, single ingredient meat treats that are not chicken or fish. And then alternatively, you could do like frozen blueberries, you could do frozen strawberries, little chunks of frozen strawberries. You could make your own treats with like yogurt and fruits or veggies in there. Summer's coming, we'll have recipes for that.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully that helps.
More questions. Someone asks, is popcorn okay for a dog?
I'm not gonna lie, Zaner has had his popcorn. Popcorn is something that would be tough to digest if it was eaten in large quantities. But if we were just sharing little tiny pieces, the thing that I always do with him, if he does get a tiny little piece of popcorn, never any husk, because I don't want that to get stuck in his throat or anything, and he's 5 pounds, so he's kind of a tiny guy. Yeah, what would you guys say about popcorn?
Yeah, small quantities is
Exactly.
okay.
I think anything, as long as they're not actually
Plain, we should say
Yeah. Yes,
plain,
plain, that
popcorn
too.
too. Not flavored, not buttered or salted, like plain pop, and very, like, even if I had my German Shepherds or my Rottweilers still, if they were getting popcorn, they might get 2 to 4 pieces.
just
of
very
popcorn.
small
Yeah.
quantities. Obviously, every dog is different based on their size, but just a tiny, tiny amount.
Yeah.
Totally. Another question, what kinds of raw meaty bones do you suggest to give dogs? I think that's good because it really depends on your dog. We always like to say there's always no such thing as a bone that's too big for them when we're talking about raw meaty bones, but there is a bone that's too small for them.
Yes.
We don't want it to be small enough where they think they can swallow the whole thing and it somehow gets lodged. So, best thing that you can do is pick a size that's appropriate for your dog that they can't swallow whole. Any raw meaty bones that are necks are really great. Anything that has tendons or ligaments or those types of pieces, those are really what helps to floss the teeth as well. We do want to look for raw meaty bones that are frozen in the freezer. Marrow bones are really good options, knuckle bones. It really depends on the size of your dog. So these are marrow bones here.
And another kind of good guideline to go by when you're choosing a bone for your dog is you kind of want the bone to almost be as big as their head so that they don't risk swallowing it. If we were to give, one of these bones to a Great Pyrenees, they could easily just swallow that. So you want to find a bone that's big enough that they can't swallow the whole thing. Oh, thank you, Maria. She was just congratulating us.
Lots of questions.
Lots of questions are coming through.
Someone has 6 French bulldogs. I noticed a couple of them have digestive issues. Any suggestions?
My first go-to would be, again, we would want to understand what type of digestion or digestive issues, right? Is it related to a protein? Because of course then we're going to avoid that protein. But if it's just kind of a digestive issue in general, it doesn't matter what protein we're feeding, but we're seeing digestive issues, incorporating a really good source of fiber into the diet, something like pumpkin or even the ground sprouted seeds by Carnivore, which are fantastic. I add that with my little guy every day for that reason, just for good healthy digestion. And then hydration would be another thing that's key. And of course, just overall diet, making sure that we're feeding pre and pro. Yeah, absolutely. Like Ella said, pre and probiotics, adding that to the diet as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria.
Lots of people saying thank you, thank you. How about cheddar cheese? Is cheddar cheese okay for dogs? I think it follows that popcorn rule. Dogs love cheese, but of course in small quantities.
In small quantities and moderation. Now, there are cheese treats made for dogs. There are also cheese flavored treats. But in some instances, we can find treats for dogs that are literally just freeze-dried cheese. We also have a goat cheese treat, but again, treats always in moderation, right? So cheese wouldn't be included in that. Make your dog's bowl 20 to 25% fresh. If I was a dog, it would be. I mean, I love my cheese, but yeah. No, cheese in moderation, but they can absolutely have some cheese for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I think that might be the end of kind of the question. Someone says, my baby is a Saint Shepherd. Is that a Saint Bernard German Shepherd?
Oh.
Cute.
oh, we'd like to see pictures of that.
Catherine is saying congratulations.
I like
So
cheese.
is Maria. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. We actually, for our TikTokers who wouldn't have seen this, we were awarded with an Oscar award today from one of our other local businesses in the city as the perfect pet paradise. So we had posted that on our Facebook and Instagram, and that's why our Facebook followers are congratulating us. But
Opinion on carnivore products.
we love carnivore.
We love 'em.
We love carnivore.
Love 'em.
Carnivore is one of the dry options that we sell. Carnivore is actually, though it gives us that same scoop and go convenience of a kibble, it is not a kibble. It is actually an air dried whole food nugget that is also a raw alternative. So if you're feeding raw today, but you're going out of town and grandma and grandpa are going to look after the furry grandchild, but they're like, I am not touching raw meat. You can grab a bag of carnivore and the furry guy can eat his carnivore while you're on vacation, and when you come home you can go right back to your raw food.
Yeah.
So we love carnivore. It's a fantastic Canadian made food. They use no synthetics. It is all whole food. Aside from the bone, you guys, we could eat everything that's in that bag. And they preserve the food very differently than how kibble is preserved, because they preserve it with their ground sprouted seeds, which is that natural source of a probiotic and a fantastic source of fiber.
And I've even debated, like, I've been having some digestive issues, and we as a team kind of keep going back and forth, like, should I add it into my own diet? Because I completely could as well. I haven't done it yet, but maybe one day I will.
Smoothie season is coming upon us here in Regina, Saskatchewan, where we're just getting out of winter, and smoothies will be back on the menu for breakfast in a couple more weeks. And carnivore Florivore will be going into my smoothie because it is such a good source of fiber and just to regulate digestion.
Someone is asking, where are you located?
We are in Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, so we are Canucks, eh?
What's a good food for allergies? I think this kind of goes along with the kind of what we addressed before. You might have not been on the live, but we got to figure out what those allergies are. Are they protein allergies? Are they allergies to other things? Are they actually something that's appearing to be an allergy but might actually be a yeast overgrowth? There's lots of
determining factors.
Totally. And we have pet nutrition consults on our website. The thing is, we'd love to go live and answer everyone's questions about all their pets, but the fact of the matter is it's like an hour conversation minimum to figure out what would be best for your dog's allergies. So if you're seriously considering it, that would probably be a good bet for you. So
I do think at a very high level, without knowing specifically what the allergies are, in a generalized statement, I would say look for a clean ingredient deck. Look for ingredients in the food that you know what they are. If there's a bunch of words that are 10 miles long and you can't pronounce them, that's not a clean deck. Look for a clean deck when we're dealing with an allergy guy. A lot of times, I'm going to show our TikTokers this, our Facebook guys have seen it.
this is a big shock.
Yes.
This is 3 cups of traditional kibble, and this is approximately how much sugar is in those 3 cups of kibble. We're looking at almost 2 cups worth of sugar. The reason is we need starch in kibble in order to hold it into its little pellet shapes. That starch turns into carbs when our dogs and cats eat it, but they have no biological requirement for carbs, so then those carbs turn into sugar. In many, many cases, when we're feeding a high carb kibble, that can look like allergies because of the amount of sugar it creates. Inflammation, it feeds disease. Yeast loves sugar, you guys. So if we're feeding a high carb kibble that has lots of sugar, we can create a whole range of other issues.
Totally. Someone says they have a Rottweiler Pitbull mix. Cute.
Love Rotties.
Hannah Callaghan is asking best affordable dry kibble for puppies. I think that's a good question because affordable means something different to lots of people. We always like to equate it as if, what does affordable mean to you? Because you can save on the cost of the bag and you can save on the cost per calorie, but are you going to be paying that in vet bills in the future? Affordable is very important, especially if you have a big dog. Lots of times when you look at a bag that's a premium quality, it looks like there's a bit of a sticker shock there, like it's more expensive than the one you're currently feeding. But oftentimes you actually feed less of a premium high quality diet than you would of a lower quality diet, similar to what Carly just showed with the sugar in the kibble, because usually premium quality diets have less carbs, they have that less filler, it's more nutrient dense, you feed less of it, so it might work out to the same cost per calorie.
Okay, so what Ella's talking about is when we feed a traditional food that has a lot of carbs, like what I just showed you, this is for a 50-pound dog for the day. When we switch to a premium food that has less carbs, is more protein rich and nutrient dense, meaning we fill those little tummies better, there's less waste in your yard because more of their body uses more of the food than out in the backyard, we feed about half. 30 to 50% less is what we're usually feeding when we move from a traditional food to a premium food.
Just to hop over to the Facebook Live quick here, Catherine asked, why do bones bought in pet stores have a funny odor?
Depends on what bones you're buying. And I guess
I've never smelt those funny bones.
Some people say bones in conjunction with a bully stick, like a pizzle stick. They'll call them bones. So if you're talking about that, there's some that are odor controlled. If we're talking about raw meaty bones, I haven't smelled any.
smelt a raw meaty bone.
Yeah, so
Bully
maybe
sticks,
throw it
yes.
out if it smells like that. Maria is asking, this is a tricky question. Is turkey the same like chicken? I mean, when we talk about allergies. People ask this a lot, like if my dog has a chicken allergy, can they do turkey, vice versa? They're very different proteins. Oftentimes we don't see dogs with chicken allergies having turkey allergies as well. There's some dogs that have poultry allergies or feather allergies where they're
Things with wings.
things with wings. So it's like chicken, turkey, duck, those types of deals. But oftentimes if it's just a chicken, turkey, totally different amino acids. It's a different meat. So usually is digested completely different.
And turkey is a lot easier to digest than chicken, right? We often, it's kind of old school thinking that if my dog has an upset tummy that I want to feed them chicken and rice because I want to give them something really easy to digest. But turkey and pumpkin are actually far more easy to digest than a chicken and rice. Rice being a grain, when they eat it, if they already have an upset tummy, that rice can start to ferment in the belly and then it can actually cause more problems than it fixes, and it's going to come out looking the same as it did going in, so we know it wasn't digested. Pumpkin provides much more fiber to an upset belly, and turkey is easier to digest. So I know I totally went off the rails there, but if we've got an upset tummy, turkey and pumpkin is where we go versus chicken and rice.
All right, so one person is saying, again with the raw meaty bones, because could I get them at our local butcher? He's never had a raw and then it kind of cut off.
Okay. TikTok doesn't let long questions. Yes, absolutely. If you've got a butcher, just tell them, like, because they're not using those bones, I guess, unless they're making soup stock or something. But for the most part, butchers want the meat and they're not doing anything with the bones. So absolutely go talk to your butcher and say, I will take those bones. Just tell them to put them into some sort of like a meat wrapping paper or whatever. Throw them in the freezer.
Do it.
And you'll come pick them up.
Totally. Sure. The lady who is asking about the allergy says she has an Australian Shepherd Norwegian Elkhound mix. Oh my goodness. One lady is saying, I hope, I can't see, I don't have glasses on. I'm sorry if you're a man. My dog is super picky. How can I make eating more interesting for him? This is a good one. I like this
Yes.
one.
Okay, well, you start with this one, Ella, because I got some ideas, but...
Yeah, so I have an 11-year-old dog at home, and for the longest time, the first 8 years of her life, we used to just say, she's picky, she's a grazer, she's going to eat when she wants to eat, we just leave the food out. it is not instinctual for dogs or cats to do that. They're the type of animal that they're like, I don't know when my next meal's coming. I gotta eat what's presented in front of me now because I don't know when I'm gonna get food again. So if your dog is showing signs of being picky or a grazer, it's a sign that they either don't like their food or they've got a little tummy upset. But if it's happening for years, likely it's they don't like their food. I would say figure out what they kind of like. My dog does really well now. Like we do a premium dry base, so we do carnivore, and then a freeze-dried topper. So it's a freeze-dried raw, just crumble some on top, put some bone broth. Every meal is eaten within 30 seconds of it being put down now. So it takes a bit of time to figure out what your dog wants as a topper, but those healthy toppers to their food is really beneficial for the picky guys, I find.
The other thing too, and we definitely want to make sure, food is such a big part of their lives. If you think about it, they've got food, they've got us, they've got walking or exercise, and they've got sleep. But we want to make sure that they love their food. So we don't want to trick them into eating something that they don't like. We just want to make sure that we're starting with a healthy, good base. We can absolutely add variety. A lot of times what happens if we're eating the same thing over and over and over and over again for months or days or years or however, food fatigue can sit in because who wants to eat the same thing every day? And when we see those furry guys getting their bowl filled and they're like, ugh, walking away, they're coming back to eat it so they don't die. It's an instinct that kicks in that says, well, I got to eat something so I don't die. We want them to love their food and thrive because of it. So making sure that they love their food is key. If they're picky, I guess one of our first questions would be, how often have we tried a different food? And how regularly do we switch that food? He gets a different meal every day. He eats twice a day. He gets different proteins, different types, different fresh foods, different supplements. It's always something different. And not that it would matter because he's a total foodie. He would eat anything, but he still gets variety because diversity is key in keeping them healthy.
And it does take a while to get your dog at that point where they can have a different meal for a different protein for every single meal of the day. It does take a bit to get their tummies used to that. If they're just eating one thing, likely you have to introduce this slowly. So,
security guard on duty. What question did we get to?
Someone says, thank you, I'm in Ottawa. Hello.
Perfect. Hello, fellow Canadian.
Best puppy food for medium dogs. Best puppy food for medium.
Best puppy food. So again, it's always going to be, we want to find a premium puppy food. The reason that sorry guys, head of security on high alert. So we always want to find a premium food. We want to find, again, we're always going to say this, protein rich, nutrient dense, low carb. That is key. We do want to keep a puppy on puppy formulated food. We want to keep a puppy on puppy formulated food for their first 18 months because their bones are still growing and developing. If it's not a food formulated for puppies, then we want to look for a bone inclusive food, which would either be a dehydrated raw, possibly some freeze-dried raws, or a raw diet, or something like carnivore that is that raw alternative that includes bone. So again, just look for those clean ingredient decks, look for the protein-rich premium foods with low carbs.
Yeah, and we do have a kibble grading tool online. It's at the bottom of every page. It says, what grade is my kibble? That's a really good way if you're wanting like specific brand information. Great place to start.
Yeah.
What is the very best natural kibble / dual for Bichon Frise puppy and adult, please? Very best natural kibble / dual. I think it was a typo, but maybe something's different. I don't know. Maybe dehydrated?
I don't know.
Too
I
sure.
don't know what the dual is.
Very best natural kibble. I think it kind of falls in the same line, like making sure you're checking for those ingredient decks. We're not sponsored by any brands, so throwing brands out there is seriously just us loving them and seeing the differences that they make. I'd say our two premium dries would be Open Farm Carnivore. Those are what we have access to in Canada. But that just kind of gives you a good starting base, brands that are comparable.
What's happening on Facebook?
I
We've
think
ignored them.
Catherine and Maria are just
They're-
kind of chatting back and
Oh,
forth.
okay.
Yeah. My dog is allergic to chicken but can eat turkey. There you go.
Perfect.
Is the Authority dog food something you would suggest? Chicken, grain-free kind.
We'd have to look. I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with Authority. Off the top of my head, I'm not. So we would have to do a little bit of research on that to be
Yeah.
able to say.
Truly what we think. I have an English bulldog. Has to have high fiber dog food. What would you suggest? I don't think lots. So if it is formulated and it's a dry food, they kind of have to stick within certain fiber ranges. So
It's usually like 3 to 6.
you're not going to find necessarily a high fiber dog food specifically. So make sure you're choosing that premium dog food, but then include natural fiber sources, whether it's a pumpkin or a sweet potato, plain pureed, not pumpkin pie filling.
Yes.
You can include that into their diet. The ground sprouted seeds from Carnivore, if you're needing high fiber for like anal gland problems, those have been really, really good for dogs with anal gland problems. So natural fiber, pre and probiotics, digestive enzymes in those sprouted seeds. So if you can source it where you are, we've seen really good results
Yeah.
with that. So
Yeah.
I live in Michigan and will 100% visit you guys when I come back to Canada. Cannot wait.
The last one says, what would you suggest for 2 Alaskan Malamutes in Canada?
That they have to come to House of Paws.
Yep.
We have to meet them, obviously.
Suggest as in food, it's always, our recommendation is going to always be the same, right? We advocate for a biologically appropriate diet. Now, the best thing that we can do for them is to build our own food because we know exactly what we're putting in the bowl. That being said, that takes a lot of time and a lot of know-how. And you have to know what you're doing in order to nourish them properly. I'm pointing to the guy you can't even see on screen. Macronutrients are one thing. The micronutrients is where it gets tricky. If you think about animals in the wild, if our dogs were left to their own devices to go out there and provide their own meals, they would eat what they kill from nose to tail. And Mother Nature had a purpose for doing that. And Mother Nature has a reason for everything. Intruder alert. Mother Nature has a reason for everything that they're supposed to eat, and that's where the majority of the micronutrients come in. So the zinc, the magnesium, the vitamin E, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, all of those things, we need to get that right if we're making our own pet's food. The next best option for us is to do a commercial raw diet, a complete and balanced commercial raw diet. Not all raw is created equally, you guys, so don't think that just because you found raw and it's a really good price that it is actually a complete and balanced diet. It could literally just be grinds. That's not complete and balanced, and then we're creating diet deficiencies. So, sorry. were you
No,
gonna say
I
something?
was just thinking too, some of the typical, especially dry brands, they formulate their food for specific breeds, but in the end, you don't need any type of specific breed food for, like you said, the Malamutes or the French Bulldog, stuff like that. They're all dogs. They all need the same requirements. They just need different feeding levels. That's all.
That's a good point, Olivia. Like a lot of people, marketers know this. They put a Yorkie's face on a bag, and because I have a Yorkie, I'm going to see his face on a bag, and I'm going to say, oh my goodness, that must be for him. The question you need to ask yourself is if you're feeding a breed-specific food, why don't they have that same breed-specific food in puppy and senior recipes? So how come it's okay for puppies and seniors to eat the same thing? I'm doing this. But when they're an adult, then they're supposed to eat a breed-specific food. So breed-specific food is all marketing, you guys. Aside from size, when they make food for small dogs versus big dogs, it's just the size of the mouth. But if you even think about from our perspective, you would not give a different apple to a toddler that you would to your 16-year-old child. They're going to eat the same apple, they're just going to eat it in different sized chunks.
Yep, exactly. Can you elaborate on premium dog food? Just not sure what you mean by that.
Okay, so premium premium essentially means that we're looking for that clean ingredient deck again, right? You can go back to any food manufacturer and you can ask a variety of questions. We're looking for transparency. The guys that aren't going to give you the answers you're looking for probably won't respond to your questions because transparency is not a thing for them. They know that they're putting controversial or harmful ingredients into their food. And I shouldn't say that they won't tell you. Actually, I was just doing a little bit of research for our upcoming Beyond the Bag. And the company that we're doing is proudly displaying all of the nasty toxins that they put in their food, but they're saying it's for a different reason than what we actually know that it is. So premium essentially, usually it's a company, it's a food manufacturing company that is owned by themselves. It's not owned by some big conglomerate that makes everything from chocolate bars to prescription pet foods. And premium, again, it's going to have that clean deck. We're going to have a named source of protein as the first ingredient. It's going to be preserved naturally. It's not going to have dyes in it. It's not going to. We're going to have fruits and vegetables before the salt, not after the salt. These are, a low carb food. Those are all the things that kind of make a brand premium. The best way that we kind of describe it in store is traditional kind of grocery store kibbles are equivalent to us eating McDonald's every day. A premium food is now like we've chosen a sub. So it's a less processed option, and then we can always make that sub even more healthy for us. So hopefully that helps.
For sure. The next question, what's the closest kibble compared to carnivore and open farm?
So Champion is a good food. Champion makes, their line of food is Origin and Acana. Origin is their top of the line, Acana is their lower end line. So if I was going to feed a Champion food, I would pick Origin. The biggest difference for me when I look at Open Farm and Champion is that when I compare Origin to Open Farm, which would be an equivalent, they both use quality ingredients, they both have good percentages of protein and fat. Some furry guys don't do 100% great on Origin, and I think it's just a little bit richer. They have a bit of a higher fat content. But if I was feeding a 50-pound dog Open Farm and Origin, it cost me 3 times more to feed a 50-pound dog Origin. The only other difference between them, aside from price, again, they're both quality premium brands. Origin has had 1 recall where Open Farm has had no recalls. So those were kind of, when we were looking at what do we want to bring in to have that premium brand, those were kind of it came right down to those, is the cost to feed and then the number of recalls. And that's kind of what edged Open Farm into the lead for us.
And we do that with all our brands too, especially like that's mostly what Carly did when she opened the store, was make sure that we look at every single brand and what we're bringing in. Because we want all our brands to be very transparent, stuff like that. So that that's something that we do regularly with all of our products. We ensure that we do a whole ton of research before we bring anything in, because if we're not comfortable feeding it to our pets, we are never going to recommend it to anybody. So and not only do we research new brands, but any brands that are on our shelves, we continue to monitor and research, because if they made a change and it wasn't for the better, they're gone and they will be replaced. We've done it before. No, for sure. Oh my goodness, they just keep coming. One person just said Zayner's bark made their dog bark. Somebody said, what are some shampoo and conditioners that you recommend?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna grab some of our favorites here. So one of them that we have that is just kind of a traditional one is the Tropiclean. We like that they, again, clean ingredient deck, no toxins, none of the artificial dyes or colors added. And then something that we just brought in last summer that we love is the Cordoba Farms. And not only is it a nice, clean, natural shampoo, but they go so far as to make their packaging all nice and green as well. So they're not using big plastic bottles. It's literally just a little cardboard wrap sleeve. Yeah. And they smell delicious, you guys.
We smell them all the time in store. We have people saying that like the smell lasts on their dogs for days, if not weeks.
But they're natural scents. Yeah. That's important. It's kind of the same thing with candles, right? We don't We don't ever want to burn traditional candles that are scented with chemical scents. We want natural scents because the chemical scents just create additional carcinogens.
Yeah,
I'm just
for
flapping
sure.
about everything.
Somebody said, "Hi guys, I'm in Stoon."
Oh, yay,
You're close to us
hi.
then. Somebody said, "Thank you. Raw is expensive, so I was hoping for a kibble option. I've been thinking of using Origin."
Yeah, yeah.
And then somebody asked, "What should I use to rehydrate my dog's dry kibble with?"
Perfect. Bone broth is our number one go-to. I will openly admit that we are serious bone broth pushers. Bone broth has so many benefits. It's like the uber superfood for dogs and cats. So not only does it help with bones and joints, but it helps with skin and coat. It helps detox the liver. If you've got those little guys that continually get those tear stains, if they're dark tear stains without a scent, that's typically an indication of liver toxins. Incorporating bone broth into the diet to detox the liver will actually start to eliminate or reduce those tear stains entirely. My little Yorkie with the Rottweiler complex, he had tear stains before I knew anything about bone broth, and now he gets bone broth in every meal. We cannot overdose them on it, you guys. It's collagen, it's not phosphorus in there. And I know that I've heard that in other groups that we don't recommend bone broth because of the phosphorus levels, and it's not, it's collagen. So he gets bone broth all the time. It also helps repair leaky gut. If you have an animal that is suffering with leaky gut, collagen can help with that. If they're feeling a little under the weather and not feeling great, that's their chicken soup, right? So bone broth we can rehydrate with, goat's milk we can rehydrate with, adding raw we can rehydrate with, adding wet food, even topping with the freeze-dried and then incorporating some bone broth, yogurt, fresh food like our fresh vegetables and fruits, tons of ways to rehydrate our food.
For sure. Somebody just asked where we're located again. We're just in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Just Regina. You guys just have to come here.
Exactly. And I was going to mention too, if you can't, like we have a website, so you can look at all our products on there as well.
We've got a blog too with a ton of this information. You guys, we're really all about trying to empower pet parents any way we can, and so we put a lot of information out on Facebook, we put a lot of information out on Instagram. Most recently we've started to put a lot of information out on TikTok. We've also got our YouTube channel that we share a lot of information, so all of our Furry Fridays get posted up to TikTok.
Or you mean YouTube,
sorry, up to YouTube. I don't know the social platforms. And then we've got a blog on our website where you can go in there and kind of search for different things, and
We do it all.
We get
we
all
do it
the
all.
information out there as many pet parents as we can help.
The next question is Burt's Bees hypoallergenic shampoo ... Is that safe/okay?
I have seen Burt's Bees products for people, but I have never looked into them for pets, so that is something that we'd have to look at because I don't know that off the top of my head.
I don't know that either. And then the next question is, do you like Farmina?
So I do. I do like Farmina. My concerns with them is they do use, in some of their recipes, they use powdered cellulose, which I'm highly opposed to. This is literally just sawdust. Powdered cellulose is something that you will find in weight loss foods, and the whole idea is that it fills the animal up, but it just fills them up that they think they're full. They eat less food, they lose weight, and everybody goes, it's the weight loss food. It's not. We're filling them with sawdust. So Farmina does use that in some of their formulas, which I did not like. In one of their formulas, I also think they use the synthetic vitamin K, that's a harmful ingredient, so I'm not a fan of that. Now, maybe that has changed, because I haven't looked at it for a long time. We looked at it over a year ago. We were thinking about bringing it in. The one other thing about Farmina that's a little bit concerning is they claim to make functional foods, but I would like to understand what ingredients in that food are supposed to make the difference for the animals. So that's what I would look at. And then the other thing that I'm waiting for is they are opening a new plant in the States. And unfortunately, so right now they manufacture in Italy. When they open in the States, I'd like to see if the recipes change. Oftentimes that happens. You guys, like anybody in the States would know this with regards to Champion. Champion was an amazing food in Canada, is an amazing food in Canada. When they move to the States, there's certain things that are different in the States that are in Canada with regards to how and all the things about manufacturing. I don't know those details, but the food changed. And so then Champion had to make some changes to try to just keep their business alive in the States, and that upset a lot of American retailers. So it's just interesting to watch when a food originates in one country and then starts to manufacture in another. You kind of want to watch to see if the formula is going to change. So that was a really long answer to say kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I guess we could do a couple more quick questions. So one person asked, how much goat's milk do you know how to give to your dog or cat?
So goat's milk is usually, you're doing 1 to 2 ounces for every 20 pounds of dog weight. My little guy is 5 pounds. He gets an ounce a day. He has decided, I call it his porridge now, he has decided that in his breakfast, I used to serve his breakfast and then give his goat's milk, but now he wants his goat's milk in his breakfast, so he'll eat 2 bites and then he sits and stares at the fridge because he knows his goat's milk is there.
Yeah.
So, but 1 to 2 ounces for every 20 pounds. And goat's milk is a fantastic addition. It is a natural probiotic, it is a natural antihistamine, and it is a natural tummy tamer. So those little furry guys out there with digestive issues, or if you want to transition food, goat's milk is fantastic to help with that.
No, for sure. We're going to hop over to the Facebook comments for a second. So Catherine said, you all do great information for us. And then Jason says, Zeus keeps looking for Zane when he hears him barking. And then Catherine also says that she loves her dog book, the Forever Dog book.
Yes, yes. If you guys have not read the Forever Dog book yet, you must. It's like the Bible of pet ownership.
Another quick question here. Multiple locations, or just Regina? Just Regina right now.
Just Regina right now. We are... we're looking into some options for other locations, but at this point it's Regina.
Yeah, for sure. Did we want to do maybe like 1 or 2 more questions?
Sure. Can we see how long we've been on here?
I do not think
We see
so.
nothing. Nobody
Yeah.
We'll just wait
Okay.
till our phones die.
Okay, so one of the questions says, what is our opinion on Benebone dog chew bones? Oh, the nylon chews. Those are nylon chews.
Are those Nylabones?
Yeah.
Not the same brand, but
Okay, Ella's
similar
gonna take
concept.
this one because I know about Nylabones, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, so they're still made out of, they're similar to a nylabone. They're made out of nylon, which, I mean, they are heavily used for heavy chewers because they last forever, but they're not edible. I don't like, or natural. They don't really digest well. Nylon is not something they should be ingesting. So if your dog's using it as a toy and they're just kind of playing around with it, chewing on it, but not getting anything off of it, okay.
Yeah.
But if they're actually getting chunks and pieces off of it, that's where I kind of would like to draw the line, just because it's not meant to be digested.
I'd rather they chew on a stick because
Right.
at least it's natural. Yeah, right? Like my experience with Nylabone with my German Shepherds, I decided I was going to get them.
47 minutes.
Oh, thank you,
my
Catherine.
goodness.
Oh my goodness, that does not feel like that.
no.
Holy cow. Okay. So my experience with Nylabones, my German Shepherds, I thought, okay, I had to go out for the night. I wanted to entertain them, so I thought, off to the pet store I went. I didn't own one then. I didn't know anything. And they convinced me that Nylabones were the best thing under the sun and they couldn't destroy them and all they would do is chew on them. Well, that's fantastic. So there I go and I spend $40 per Nylabone for these 2 huge German Shepherds. And I went out and when I came home, I found one tiny little rice-sized chunk of the Nylabone. So they ate them. Like they ate all of that nylon. So that's my, stick to natural. Natural chews are the best. I guess I have a question. We know that we've got some folks on Facebook that like our lives, and I'm wondering, in TikTok land, is this something that you guys are interested in, that we go live like this? You guys let us know in the comments. I don't even know if we'll be able to see them afterwards, so we'll take a couple more questions to see if you guys even actually want us to do these lives on TikTok for you still.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So this is a good one. We typically stick to salmon/fish due to allergies. Is there a fish topper you would recommend?
Well, there's different supplements that provide what fish does.
Running at it.
Yeah.
You can also find fish stocks. So they're like bone broth, but they're made out of fish if you're very concerned about allergies.
Yeah, we do have, Primal has now come out with some new freeze-dried toppers, and they do have a fish option. This is gonna be backwards for you guys, but this is the, oh, I'm not even showing it the right way. This is the grizzly oil. This is, so for folks that want to add those omega-3, 6s, and 9s that you get from fish, but they don't love the fishy stink, algae or krill oil, we're going right to the source of where those omega-3, 6s, and 9s come from, and we don't get that fish stink. So if we're wanting to add fish toppers, there are freeze-dried fish toppers. Primal, in their original recipe, they have their turkey sardine freeze-dried, but with their new topper option, they also have a frozen raw fish topper.
And the best fishy topper, sardines.
Yes,
We love sardines.
You guys,
Packed in
we
water.
should do a TikTok on sardines.
We should.
Yeah.
There's been lots of questions about brands. We do not have time to go into every brand in the world. We do have on our website at the very bottom of every page, what grade is my kibble? It's a really good place to start and to grade your kibble and see if it's an A, B, C, or D, E, or F. We do not want anything other than an A. So that is a really good one for the brand specific ones.
Yeah, and we'll continue to put together our beyond the bags that you guys can see some of the different brands up there too.
So I think we've got 2 more questions. One is favorite raw food for dogs. I currently feed Instinct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about, I think lots of people who feed Instinct are in the States, but there is Instinct in Canada as well, so I'm not too sure where you are. That changes things very significantly because we have very different brands.
Yeah, and I mean, so what we have we went this way with our raws. Initially, we wanted a Canadian option and we wanted an American option. For the Canadian, we picked Bold by Nature. What we really like about Bold by Nature is 11 times first of all, every food that we carry kind of started with a similar story. Did I say that? Every food that we carry started with a similar story. Okay, yeah. Didn't sound right. It's probably because it's been now 57 minutes. Every food that we carry started with a very similar story. The original owner of the food had an animal that either didn't do well on kibble or got very, very sick, or even in some instances passed. And the pet parent at the time went, there has got to be a better way. Bold by Nature was no different, and she has an extremely scientific background. I don't know her exact title, but she decided, you know what, pet food is the way I'm going to go because this is where I can make a difference. But what we really love about Bold by Nature is that she has her food, her raw food, tested 11 times a year independently by a third-party lab. She has no idea what they're testing for or what samples they're testing. She just sends the samples and they test. And she passes every time. So we really love Bold by Nature for that reason. We opted for Primal on the other side of the freezer, where that's our American option. And between Stella and Chewy's or Primal, we went with Primal because Primal uses natural vitamins, where in some of Stella and Chewy's recipes, they include the synthetic vitamins, which are a lot harder for the body to absorb, and natural vitamins are absorbed by the body. We also have Answers, but in Canada this has changed. You probably know about all the stuff that happened in the States with Answers, but now we can no longer get Answers in Canada. So we are waiting for the next evolution, and if you're following this drama, you know what that is. So.
I think this is a good one. We touched on it earlier, but people might have not seen. Can you give some tips for feeding vegetables? My dog hates them.
So, dip the carrots in ranch. No, I'm kidding. That was from friends of mine, dog. Anyways, what we were suggesting for the veggies, if they don't like raw veggies, you can always gently steam them or lightly saute in an olive oil, wait for them to cool, and then you can add them to the dish.
You can also do a veggie smoothie, like puree it, and then add it into like a Greek yogurt, add it on top of their food. Sometimes the form of the veggie, I think, is what they don't like, is they don't like the texture. So switching that texture really can make a difference.
I mean, the other option too is there are some fermented veggie products on the market that you could look at, because that might be completely different and they might say, oh my God, I love this. Primal does have some veggie toppers. They've got pumpkin and then they've got their green smoothie. And that's just an easy way to get some fresh food that includes vegetables into the dish. And again, it takes the texture component out of it because it's just kind of like wet food when we put it in the dish.
I think other than that, everybody's just saying yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they're all like,
they're
"More
loving
lives."
it.
Okay. All right. Well, then, we might be moving Furry Fridays to TikTok. So you Facebookers, get over to TikTok. No, I guess we can do it with the two phones.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know where to look any of the times.
Yeah,
but,
no.
okay, well, hopefully this was different than what we thought it was going to be, you guys, because we were just going to answer a couple of the questions that came in over the month. TikTokers, we go live every Friday on Facebook for Furry Friday, but now we might start doing both.
TikTok as well.
You guys have said that you like it, and you guys have got lots of great questions. So we will thank you for joining us this afternoon and spending some of your day with us. We are, for those who live in our area, we are here Monday to Saturday, 11 till 6. So we're here till 6 o'clock tonight, tomorrow 11 till 6. Closed on Sundays and back on Mondays. So thank you so much, you guys, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.